sectors, not just technology. That's 49% of our portfolio, but they're high value add, pure play technology sector. Banking, finance, insurance, those are really strong parts of our portfolio. Consulting, you can see aerospace, automotive, healthcare, retail, many different industries. So a great spread, great diverse blue chip tenant base. More than 81% of them are international companies. And when we look at capital values in our portfolio and you compare these against capital values internationally, I think this slide speaks for itself. These are numbers that come from CBRE, they're not our numbers. Although capital values in the office space have been growing over a number of years, just like rentals, we see and we believe that there continues to be that potential for growth, simply looking at the dynamic on this graph, but also looking at the way in which this market, that India and urban India in particular is likely to change in the future. That capital value is also reflected in the rental values. So although we've seen a compounding at 7+% average across our portfolio, and a couple of our parks are at between 10 and 12% compound rental growth over more than 5 years, despite that growth, we remain with very low rental numbers in comparison to those global cities. And one point that, as I speak to those CXOs and we've done our research, we believe that these corporations spend less than 10%. Some of them spend less than 5% on the rental component of their expense budget. Those companies are not in India for a rental arbitrage. That's a side benefit. They are here because of the people that are available in India, and the people and skills that are available at scale, particularly in the science, technology, engineering, mathematics space. You'll go around the world like me, and wherever you go and you're finding people who are experts in STEM areas, there'll be a good proportion of them will have an Indian heritage. Companies are here in India for the people, for the talent. It's not any longer about cost arbitrage. We've seen that transition away from the low-cost, commoditized BPO world, perhaps 10 years ago plus, to a highly sophisticated, high value-add set of tenants. I mentioned companies that are there: automotive, aerospace, omni-channel retailing, companies that are specializing in cybersecurity, companies that are specializing and executing on digital transformation for global corporations based here in India. And the rationale for that, of course, is those people aren't available in the Western markets with the right skills at the right scale. And that drives demand in our parks. You can see on the right-hand side the quantum of space that's occupied by the tech sector, has multiplied more than 8-fold over the last nearly 2 decades. And what that's done in our industry, of course, is that has driven demand. Demand data that's there, it's in our prospectus, demonstrates that over the last 5 or 6 years, there's been a consistent increase in the demand across our 4 markets that we operate in, and that supply is also well balanced. So gone are the days of the early to mid-2000s when there was a tsunami of space coming available, small scale, often low quality space. That's history. What's happening today is these occupiers want to be in large scale, going back to the business ecosystem, large-scale business parks, and our business parks are between 25 and 120 acres. High quality, safe, secure, consolidated, owned by institutional investors, institutional landlords. We contend that the best quality tenants are moving away from the strata sold type of lower quality fragmented markets, and there's a balanced supply. One of the reasons that there's a balanced supply is more of that institutional capital which is sitting alongside the traditional top-tier developers. So clearly, as an example, that would be Blackstone with Embassy. That's an example where the strength and the experience of both parties, I often refer to the way in which they interact and bring complementary skills, is that yin and yang. So that demand, this is a slide that you saw on the video. This takes people aback when they study this. Our 4 markets have absorbed more space. This is actual net absorption. Have absorbed more space than all of those 11 international cities put together over the last 5 years. Bangalore has absorbed more than Hong Kong, Beijing and Shanghai combined. The scale of what's happening, I think when we live and breathe it, sometimes we don't notice it in the same way. We say we're in the right markets. That 72% number that you see there, it represents the absorption or the stock in our 4 markets. With the addition of one other at Chennai, we believe that we will take that up to close to 90%. This is what our parks look like, and this is the business ecosystem. Large scale, multiple buildings. There are 75 buildings in the portfolio. The hotels that I mentioned, the food courts, gyms, amphitheatre, childcare, sports facilities, transport. We take our social responsibility seriously. We provide renewable energy, solar power to our parks in Karnataka. We have a 100 megawatt asset in the portfolio. Our tenants regard the whole issue of environment, both in a renewable sense, but also the physical environment, the health and safety of their staff is very important to them. We've won awards, some of the top awards from the British Safety Council in the world have been awarded to 2 of our parks in the portfolio. We have gold and platinum certification from the LEED organisation, which stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. We run tenant engagement activities. All of these things put together, all of the things that I've mentioned, result in that consistent high occupancy that I mentioned earlier on, that 93 to 95% occupancy across our parks. That rental growth that outstrips other buildings in our market. Another reason why we get that is because our 160 existing customers, our existing tenants, we are their first port of call when they grow. So over the last 3 years, 9 months, we've leased up 6.8 million square feet. More than 60% of that comes from our existing tenant base. So we've got an existing captive customer base who we take great care of. We reach out to them, we engage with them, and this is one of the results that comes of it. So where do we get our growth from? We get our monthly rentals. Our typical lease structure has a 10 to 15% escalation every 3 to 5 years. 3 years. The majority of the portfolio would have that 15% every 3 years, so you're getting close to a 5% escalation. Now, I mentioned that rents in our markets have grown between 7 as an average, but 10 to 12% over a protracted period of time.